here's episode 1 of SpiritShackTV. I hope you enjoy it. Here we are back at Branksome Dene Chine. We did promise you we'd do an investigation. We've come back in the evening on probably the worst weather conditions that we've had in the area for some time. So do bear with us. If the sound quality isn't too brilliant, it's because the wind is so strong it's affecting our microphone ability. But let's go down and see what we find in Branksome Dene Chine. Well, here we are outside the Pack Mausoleum. Before we start on any spirit investigation, it is so important that we prepare ourselves and that also we're respectful, courteous and safe in all that we do, not only with each other here in the physical world, but with the spirit world as well. So I'm going to invite our two guests who are on the investigation with us tonight, Christine and Mark, to just come in close and share with us in an opening prayer where we ask for spirits to join us and for us to be held safe in God's love. Ever-loving Spirit, who we call God, Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever name we know you by, we thank you for this opportunity of meeting here together this evening. We invite the spirit world who are present in this place to join us now and to inspire us with their messages that prove the continuation of existence beyond this physical world. We ask for our guides and helpers to keep us safe and blessed during this time. And we ask that only those spirits who come in love will join with us. We ask for protection and guidance on the four of us here and on our spirit friends as well. And this we ask in your name of love. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And so now I'm going to show you a short piece recorded earlier in daylight at the Pack Mausoleum behind us, which will explain a little more about the area while we set up the EMF experiment. EMF stands for electromagnetic frequency. I'll explain a minute on the other side of this little film. It's largely built on evidence from third parties showing that there has been some paranormal activity, largely based around this building. And John, if you'd like to just pan around. This is the Pack family mausoleum. Now, the Pack family were very influential in the development of this estate back in the Victorian age, the late Victorian times, when they moved down to start a new life in what was becoming a fast-growing urban sprawl. And the Pack family spent a lot of money developing the area, producing the beautiful villas with large gardens and huge estates that we still see today. Because of their involvement, they have been very synonymous with any paranormal activity that takes place. For example, this mausoleum, which contains the earthly remains of a number of the Pack family, is said to be the site where the late Mrs. Pack, as her funeral was taking place, there was a landslip of some sort from land that had been excavated to allow the foundations for this mausoleum, and it wiped out the hearse, the two horses pulling the hearse, and the groomsman who was guiding the horses at the time. And those horses and the groomsmen have been said to appear on this driveway on many, many occasions. Well, I hope that bit of information told you more about the area and the history of it. Where I'm sat right now, and the rest of the team are behind the camera at the moment. Sorry about the dodgy angle, it's the nature of the layout of the road, I'm afraid. Nothing we could do. When the tragic accident of Mrs. Pack's funeral hearse being affected and dragged off down this hill by the landslip, the horse and hearse, or horses and hearse, went over that side of the cliff, over to my right hand side, and further down and down and down, roughly halfway down the hill, on its way towards what was then just a natural earthy marsh area. The groomsman is said to have met his final end roughly where we are now. This is actually an intersection of the car park access road. Down to my left is the way down to the beach car park, and to the right of the camera is the way back up. So if you see lights coming and the camera suddenly moves desperately fast, it's because there's a car coming out of the car park. Nothing we can do about that. But for now, I just want to take you on a little journey using some of 21st century technology. And we're going to use what's called an EMF device, which stands for electromagnetic frequency. Now what this does, if I turn it on, you should be able to see a light there. Can you see that nice and clearly, everybody? Is it on camera, John?
Yep.
Excellent. This device, very simple, not high-tech at all, but what it can do is it can sense finer and increase more rapid electromagnetic vibrations. We live in the physical world in a fairly dense and heavy environment. So what we're looking for here is proof in some way that there is a discarnate entity around us. It could be the groomsmen. We don't know. We can't know until we do the investigation and find a little bit more. And if we do get some information and we do get some evidence by these lights changing colour, it will actually increase in intensity of the number of little bulbs that will light up as the energy gets stronger. As you can see, I'm not touching it, I'm not attached to it, there's no wires around it. I can put my little pointer around it, you can see nothing attached at all. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to invite any spirit souls, because we don't pick and choose who we want to see. I'm going to invite any spirit souls who are here at the moment who wish to draw close and try and show us their presence by making these lights change. Sorry about the wind, I'm going to have to shout. I'm going to go head out of shot now as I need to stand up. As you know, I'm disabled and sitting in one position can be quite uncomfortable, but I'll come closer to the camera so you can hear my voice a lot clearer. So, as we concentrate on that one single light, as a group, we're just going to think in our minds about any souls that are around here. And I'm going to ask them nice and loudly and clearly and with respect. Remember, always we show respect to those who want to come and help us by giving proof, to draw close to it. So, dear friends in the spirit world, if there is anybody here at the moment, and I was aware as I sat down and we were preparing, there was very clearly an energy that brushed past the front of me at one point, that if you are still close and would like to help those here in the crew present at this place and this time, and all our viewers on YouTube land all around the world, this is the chance you've got. You will see the little device on the stones in front of us with the one little light shining there, quite brightly but peacefully. It's perfectly safe and can do you no harm, sir or madam, whoever you are, miss or master. But if you are here now, we'd just ask you to draw close to that particular machine. In fact, in your spirit way, you can touch it with your own energy if you wish. And if you can do so, you should increase the number of lights that will appear on that machine. So please do draw close now. Bring your energy towards that machine. Walk close to it. It can do you no harm. You will have seen me holding it, touching it, turning it on and off. In this 21st century, we're not afraid of electricity. And of course, we're just down the road from where Guillermo Marconi made his famous and once in a generation, lifetime experience when he sent a message using electricity via telegraph. You maybe were around at that time, you may be somebody who's lived since that time, but whoever you are, if you would like to draw close to that machine and show us that you are here by lighting up a few more lights, even one would do, please do so now. And as I link in, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but to the left of the light on the EMF device, I'm very aware that there's a lady who draws close. She's not a headless woman, she's not one of these mythical grey weeping ladies or the lady in white. She hasn't got a head tucked under her arm. That's all the stuff of cinema land. She's She's a very elegantly dressed lady, and I would say that she's dressed in sort of interwar period time. To me, yes, you, I am, I'm talking about you, my dear. If you would like to draw close to that machine and perhaps inspire it to light up a little further, and I will keep talking to you. You're very welcome to talk to me if you wish. I don't know if any images are appearing on the camera, but I would put you in your possibly late 20s, possibly just into your 30s. You're wearing a very elegant cocktail dress, I believe is the right definition for what you're wearing. It's the sort of thing you'd see a lady wear at an early evening reception, or in the afternoon going to a dance maybe. It's in a beautiful powder blue colour. Very difficult for me to be able to communicate, but I will say, for the benefit of those who are watching, that if anybody watching this can relate to the description I've just given, I'll try and give a finer description. I have the name of Ethel with this lady. I know it's very easy to give out a name, and normally when I work as a medium I wouldn't just simply throw out a name, because if we look back in our families we can always find Georges and Arthurs and Marys and Berts, but for now I'm going to come and sit near you. See if I can increase the vibration. John, don't worry if I'm not in shot. It's not that important. But for the benefit of those of you watching, as you see I'm turned away, my hands are not touching the device, I'm still not attached to it. But the lady stands to my front as I stand here now, and you are indeed very elegant. And as I look at you, I can feel a sense of deep sorrow but joy at the same time. You lost somebody here. Okay. If what I say makes sense to you, perhaps you could make these lights move in response, so I know that I'm right. If I am right, perhaps you will make another light light up for me.
For the benefit of the people watching, I think you need to speak louder.
Sorry if you can't hear me, my friends. I've just asked this charming young lady, you may not have heard me say, I feel there's a sense of loss with this lady and the grief that's associated with loss, but also a sense of joy as well. Loss because, and I've asked her to, if I am right, if she can do so, because this is an experiment, and any scientist will tell you first time doesn't always hit home. Sometimes it goes on and on and on until you hit the right combination. But I will try here. And if I am right, miss, I should say then madam, because you were married, and your husband lost his life further down here near the beach, I believe. If I'm right, if you can make a light shine, or just make the machine flicker, even that would be good enough. Or possibly create some sort of orb or visual presence for the benefit of those watching. Your husband died near the promenade, even possibly on the promenade. He wasn't a wealthy man, he wasn't a rich man, but he loved you very dearly. His name was Sidney Archer, and I believe that name and your family connection will link with somebody who will watch this at some point in the future. And if you do and can understand this, a connection to the Bournemouth and Pool area of these two lovely folk, Sydney would have been in his mid-30s. Sadly, he was taken way too young. But the time that they had together was... it was true love. Well, here we are, it's me again. Just very quickly, at that point the wind got so loud that you couldn't hear my voice. Couldn't even hear John or the other crew members who were stood right by the microphone, and there was no more physical evidence to see. But coming back here and doing some research afterwards, all available in public records, so feel free to go and check it out yourself. I found that the name Ethel Archer was ascribed to a young lady with blonde hair in her late 20s who was firstly a Waffen at Wren, who was the last known victim in Bournemouth of the poison in Neville Heath. So I consider that fairly good evidence, but you must make your judgment yourself. Right, back to the film, and at this point we've now moved down the hill into the Chine, and we're actually sat at a picnic table in the wooded area. Well, here you are, with us, on a park bench, in the middle of nowhere. Well, we're actually now at the bottom of the Chine. Over my right shoulder is the pathway that leads through, right through up to the head of the Chine. For those of you who don't know what a Chine is, it's just an old Anglo-Saxon word for a small wooded dip in the land, what you and I would call a little valley. While we were up at the top and we were doing something which you're going to see a bit later on, the EMF investigation, Chris, Mark and John all had experiences, fortunately off camera, while you were all concentrating on Big Mouth here. So, Mark, what can you tell us what you saw, felt?
I heard crushing going down the back of the hill where the horses and the cart went for the funeral.
The funeral. When you say crushing, what do you mean? Like the land
Chains
moving?
rattling.
So you heard, sorry Chris, you heard chains?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's possible. I mean, it was a mechanical hearse. There's no reason to suspect there wouldn't be some sort of dragging that took place. John, what did you experience?
About a third of the way through filming, I thought that Mark had stood behind me, because it sounded like someone sort of jumped behind me, and it actually made me jump. And then when I looked behind me, there wasn't anybody there.
Yeah, I saw
but
that.
I turned round to the other way and I couldn't see anything, but it's almost like I felt there was somebody going down the other side of the path.
Yeah.
So,
I
there,
sensed
sorry
it-
Chris, yeah?
I sensed the same as well.
You had the feeling of somebody behind you?
Behind me, yeah.
Did it feel oppressive or nasty or threatening in any way?
No,
No?
no, it just felt like, seemed like it was in a hurry.
Yeah, it was
Right.
really quick. It was like
Someone
a fast
skiing
jog
down the
or
hill.
a slow run. It was
Yeah.
quite
Okay.
quick.
So there you go. There's three people. I mean, John has had experience of mediumship, obviously, by being married to me and sitting in a circle for a number of times. And Chris and Mark have both experienced some sort of paranormal activity in their own home and in various places around the area which they live. So they're what we'd call sensitive, but fledglings at it. They're not trained, they've not sat or developed like professional working mediums and psychics do. It's a long time to learn the skills we have to communicate. But the spirit world don't just pick those who know exactly what they're doing. They want to communicate with all of us. Would you say that's a fair thing?
Yes.
You felt there was some sort of presence that sort of touched you in some way.
Yeah.
Would that be right? Yeah. Okay. So the spirit world will do what they can, which is why spiritualism describes itself not only as a religion and a way of life, but also a science. And of course, back in the early days of the founding fathers and mothers of spiritualism in Hydesville and the wrappings on tables and all the things we know of from recent modern-ish, for those of us who are old enough, history, that spirit will communicate, because they come with one particular aim in mind, and that is to prove beyond an individual person's belief or doubt that life goes beyond this physical life. It's the whole purpose of spirit communication. It's not an entertainment, it's not a freak show. And unfortunately some people have given it a bad name by the way in which they act in their work. But that's for them and their conscience to deal with. Here at Spirit Shack, what we want to do is we want to help you understand a little bit more. And hopefully, as time goes on, we will experience more and more phenomena. Perhaps even some that we will be able to capture on video. Here we have the EMF machine, the electromagnetic frequency machine. Now what this does, for the benefit of those who don't know, is it picks up on the very faint and delicate vibrations of the spirit world, or of any energy source that is finer and less dense than our own fairly heavy atomic structure. So it's very useful for recognizing electronically, if you like, in a technological way, the presence of possibly discarnate souls. I say possibly because all science is an experiment until proof happens. And the thing about proof, my friends, is it's not one proof fits all. It's individual proof for an individual person. The proof I had that converted me from being a complete skeptic who would have happily written in the comments bar following any of these sorts of films is con man, liar, he's after your money and all this sort of thing. I needed to have proof that set my mind to be open enough to acknowledge that there had to be something out there. I'm not going to bore you with it now because it was personal to me. John, I know, has had evidence that he's been able to accept irrefutably, not only from me but from other mediums as well. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
And where did you come from in your background?
Christianity.
Okay, well Christianity is a wonderful religion. I came in from it myself. I class myself as a Christian spiritualist. I follow the teachings of the Master Jesus. And the teachings of the Master Jesus are very similar to spiritualism. To love God and respect God above all others. In other words, you're not the be-all and end-all. You're not the top dog. There is somebody far greater and more important than you will ever be. And to love one another. And to respect one another. And that's what we find in our little groups within spiritualism. We try to live by those examples. And also to take responsibility for our actions. Because everything we do has a response to it. It's called karma, the law of cause and effect. And in a future episode, one of the educational ones, we will be looking at all these sorts of things in a little more detail. But for now, we're here in the middle of this beautiful place of nature. Just behind the camera, about 100 yards hence, you can probably hear the sound of the breaking waves. We're in a nice, quiet, secluded part. A lot of the noise of the wind has now we've been shielded from it by this beautiful tree-lined little opening that we find ourselves in. Here at Spirit Shack, what we want to do is we want to help you understand a little bit more, and hopefully as time goes on we will experience more and more phenomena, perhaps even some that we will be able to capture on video. Here we have the EMF machine, the electromagnetic frequency machine. Now what this does, for the benefit of those who don't know, is it picks up on the very faint and delicate vibrations of the spirit world, or of any energy source that is finer and less dense than our own fairly heavy atomic structure. So it's very useful for recognizing electronically, if you like, in a technological way, the presence of possibly discarnate souls. I say possibly because all science is an experiment until proof happens. And the thing about proof, my friends, is it's not one proof fits all. It's individual proof for an individual person. The proof I had that converted me from being a complete skeptic who would have happily written in the comments bar following any of these sorts of films is con man, liar, he's after your money, and all this sort of thing. I needed to have proof that set my mind to be open enough to acknowledge that there had to be something out there. I'm not going to bore you with it now because it was personal to me. John, I know, has had evidence that he's been able to accept irrefutably, not only from me but from other mediums as well. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
And where did you come from in your background?
Christianity.
Okay, well, Christianity is a wonderful religion. I came in from it myself. I class myself as a Christian spiritualist. I follow the teachings of the Master Jesus. And the teachings of the Master Jesus are very similar to spiritualism. To love God and respect God above all others. In other words, you're not the be-all and end-all. You're not the top dog. There is somebody far greater and more important than you will ever be. And to love one another. And to respect one another. And that's what we find in our little groups within spiritualism. We try to live by those examples. And also to take responsibility for our actions. Because everything we do has a response to it. It's called karma, the law of cause and effect. And in a future episode, one of the educational ones, we will be looking at all these sorts of things in a little more detail. But for now, we're here in the middle of this beautiful place of nature, just behind the camera, about 100 yards hence. You can probably hear the sound of the breaking waves. We're in a nice, quiet, secluded part. A lot of the noise of the wind has now happened. We've been shielded from it by this beautiful tree-lined little opening that we find ourselves in. So we already have the EMF machine. Hopefully that will light up if the batteries last long enough. If there is any presence here that is strong enough to make that happen. But now we're going to set up the EVP. Now with the EVP, John actually has it on his mobile phone. Standard device we're all attached to at the hip these days. Excuse me. And when it is recording, each one of us will ask a simple question of whoever is here, and we'll invite them to give us their answer. Now they may give their answer by knocking. They may send an orb around the place. They may knock a tree down. They may talk to us. And that's what the EVP machine and that particular form of phenomena is all about. When we ask the question, we leave a certain amount of time in which the spirit world can then react with appropriate response. One thing it's always important to remind, we know we're being courteous, but we're talking about people who have passed on from a different time and a different place when perhaps the way in which we communicate with each other would be different. They might not be English, and this is a very important question because a lot of people say, when I've done demonstrations, for example, in Malta, or I did a very famous one in Japan where the translator working on stage with me completely got it wrong and deeply insulted the poor lady that I was speaking to, and she took it out on me. It happens. But spirit will always communicate in a language that the recipient, the medium, is able to understand and respond to.
There's definitely spirit here.
Yeah,
I am very aware that there's some energy
I'm
here.
sure I saw somebody walking over there behind the camera a minute ago.
And I have now just seen somebody to the right of the tree.
I saw somebody just to the left of the tree walk over to the right.
And there's definitely nobody here physically. Go on, quick.
Alright, I'm coming. Guys, are you coming? I'm coming. Guys, you alright? Guys? think they're coming. We're down here! Yeah, yeah, I can see you.
Right, for the benefit of those on camera, basically what's just happened is, as John was setting up the camera so it could focus in on me doing pendulum work, we all saw what looked like moving spirits over this side, which is the beach side, where we were sat, and I felt an urge to go a little further into the trees because I could hear something happening there. As I got part way through, there's like a long time fallen log. It's only about 3 steps in. I couldn't go any further than that anyway, even if I tried. Oh, excuse me. And I saw my guide as clear as day telling me to turn around and go back. As I did so, do you see a light then?
Yeah.
4 or 5 men, physical men, not spirit men, stood up and were really quite threatening. So I've moved back out now, but I think I've just seen spirit light there. There's somebody there who's, I think they're trying to stop anybody from getting near us. But what we're going to do is we're going to leave this area now. We're going to move back up the hill. Huge thank you to our guides and them for looking after us. I don't know who the spirit people were, but you were quite right. Thank you so much. We're going to make our way back slowly, obviously, because I've got to use my chair from now on. But we'll get back up to the mausoleum to do our final pieces to camera. See you in a minute. Well, dear viewers, that is not what we expected to happen. This just goes to prove any investigation can change or turn on a pinhead. We're back at the table, about to do the pendulum work. I was very aware that my own doorkeeping guide, Morning Star, who has been with me since the beginning of time, was calling me into the trees. I was very aware of the essence of an incredibly powerfully strong man, not physical, not a giant muscle man, but a powerful man of words, a powerful man of thought and of conviction. I won't say who it is, but there is one particular internationally renowned person connected particularly with Branksome Dene Chine, whose memory is very significant at this time of year. Today is 9/11, 2015. This man was very, very much connected to, we all remembered in our different war memorials around the world. Yesterday, remember Sunday. But he wasn't. As John and Mark, Christine all attested, as I did as well, to seeing spirit activity on the other side, on the beach side near where the construction work was. That was, I believe, spirit communicating with us, warning us to go away. Not because they didn't want us here, but for our own safety. And indeed, you just saw Mark and John having to run very, very fast with all the equipment, while Christine and I, being the poor old invalids that we are, had to bring up the rear and take our time, but with protection. As I walked into the trees, I was met by 3, possibly 4 very, very real men, big men, I believe were rough sleepers. I believe I disturbed them, probably going about their peaceful rest, but they were very aggressive towards me and made threats towards us, which is why we followed Spirit's advice. Morningstar indeed was not inviting me in, but very much told me not to go. So, there you go. Is Branksome Dene Chine haunted or possessed of some sort of paranormal activity? What you have just seen, heard and experienced is exactly what we did when we were there filming. The only editing we do is to tidy up the beginnings and endings and remove any outtakes. So it's time for you to start really considering now. If you've liked what you've seen at Branksome Dene Chine and would like to see what else we can offer you, do hit like and subscribe at the bottom here afterwards, and don't forget to visit John's channel, Borderline John, as well. And we'll see you on episode 2 of Spirit Shack TV.